Beautiful guitar, right? A customer's complaining about some fret buzz. So it's here for a setup, but a setup is not going to fix the fret buzz on this guitar. Why not? Well, you'll find out. You just have to keep watching. I'll put this guitar on the bench and I'll show you. Welcome back to Guitar Quackery, where a setup is not always an option. You know, the most frequently asked question that I get over the phone is, how much do you guys charge for a setup? Well, oh, excuse me. Guitar Quackery. Oh no, I don't quote prices over the phone without seeing the guitar. Well, you see, a setup is not necessarily what you want. If you think about it, what you want is for your guitar to perform to its best potential. So the way we get there is you bring the guitar to the shop. First, I do a full assessment, and then I can advise you of your options. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so I'll text you some available times. Okay, thanks, bye. Oh, and make sure you subscribe. Thanks, bye. You see what I tell you? There's even an old Chinese proverb that says, a setup is not necessarily what your guitar needs. So that said, why don't we go back to the shop and look at the guitar on the bench, and then we'll talk some more. The guitar is a Gibson J160E. E stands for electric, which is why there's a pickup. You also have a volume pot and a tone pot and an output jack right here. I can show you some close-ups. So here you can see the pickup. All right. And inside you see the label. It's a J160E, guaranteed against faulty workmanship, etc. Gibson. Okay. This is the fretboard. And I kind of always like to look at the headstock logo on a Gibson. So there you have it, a Gibson. But it's impossible to do a good setup on this guitar. And that's because the guitar has an issue, which I'm going to show you. So here you have a bird's eye view of the fretboard. One important alignment that we do during a setup is the neck relief, the so-called truss rod adjustment. Yeah. So we measure the relief in many different ways. I use feeler gauges. Okay. So let's they come in different thicknesses. So let's look at this one. This one is 14 1/1000 of an inch thick. Okay. So let's remember that. I'm going to take the straight edge and place it over here. Okay. So once again, this is 14 1/1000 of an inch thick. And this is the 8th fret. And it passes between the straight edge and the 8th fret. The next feeler gauge is 16 1/1000 of an inch thick. And this one does not pass. So we just measured the gap to be at least 14 1/1000 of an inch thick because it passes easily. It could actually be 15 1/1000 of an inch. I don't really know because I don't have a feeler gauge of that thickness. So now let's move our straight edge to the other side. Okay, just like that. I'm going to hold it like this. And let's take this feeler gauge, which is much thinner. It's 3 1/1000 of an inch thick. Okay, as you can see, this is it. I want to show you the number. Okay, so this one passes through this gap. Okay, the next one is a little bit thicker. It is 4
1/1000 of an inch thick. You can see the number right here. Okay. And if we try to pass, you can see that it gets stuck. Okay. So this one does not pass. This means that we have a smaller relief on the treble side, which is 3/1000 of an inch, and a much bigger relief on the bass side, which is 14/1000 of an inch. Now, you might ask, why is that a problem? You could have more relief on the bass side because the bass string vibrates more than the treble strings, right? Well, let's have another look at the fretboard from this angle now. So, because we have significantly more relief on the bass side, it means that this entire part of the fretboard is dipping down. So this would increase the distance between the string and the frets. So then the action would be too high. Now, a normal string height adjustment, which is called the action adjustment, would be to lower the height of the string by lowering the saddle. We just shave it at the bottom and put it back inside the saddle slot. So if we lower the saddle, if we lower the string by shaving the saddle, it does lower the action. But because this is curved, then this part of the fretboard is actually kicking up. Okay? And now when you are fretting the string around here, that's the lowest point. When the string vibrates, it might hit these frets and you might get fret buzz. And this is what this customer is complaining about. So it is not really possible to adjust the neck by tightening the truss rod, because if we tighten the truss rod to minimize the relief on the bass side, the treble side will also straighten. In fact, it will go into a back bow in this case. And you cannot have a back bow. So right now, the relief on the treble side is only 3/1000 of an inch. But 6/1000 of an inch is more of a, let's say, widely accepted standard. So we have a problem. So what's the solution? Well, we could do a full refret of the guitar. Basically, pull the frets out and then plane the fretboard and install new frets. But there's a challenge with this guitar. Because it's a Gibson, I'll show you here through the microscope. As you can see, these frets have nibs on the side, okay? So most Gibson guitars are built that way. And if we pull the frets out and plane the fretboard, we would be also planing the binding, and we would basically shave off all of the fret nibs. So we would alter the guitar. So at this point, I don't know what the customer will decide to do. He's complaining about some fret buzz, but we really can't do a setup. A setup will not fix the problem in this case.
One day you might go to the dentist and say, doctor, I need a filling. Then the doctor looks at your teeth and says, no, you don't need a filling. You need a root canals, or you need a crown, or this or that. Well, it's the same with guitars. You might think that you need a setup, but then when the technician looks at your guitar, it might be obvious that a setup is not gonna get the results that you expect. And that's because a setup is not a repair job. A setup is just a regulation of the guitar. So a setup will only accomplish as much as the guitar will allow it. In other words, if there's an underlying problem, no amount of setup adjustments will fix the problem. You need to fix the problem first. So this is why I never discuss setups over the phone without seeing the guitar first. Makes no sense at all. It's just a waste of time. I need to see the guitar, okay? It's not even in your best interest to talk about a setup until I've seen the guitar. And you need to bring the guitar to the shop anyway for me to work on it. So sometimes a setup is all that the guitar needs. I look at your guitar. If that's all that it needs, I tell you how much that's going to cost right there on the spot. But guitars also come in, different conditions. So every guitar that comes out of Guitar Quackery needs to meet a gold standard. So if the guitar is super clean, I don't need to do a lot of work to get it to gold standard. So in that case, the setup will cost less. But if the guitar is covered with fret cheese, well, I'll need to spend an extra hour just removing that. In that case, the setup will cost more, because a guitar covered with fret cheese will never be handed back to the customer. It will be cleaned first. So what are the options with this guitar? Well, there are some options. Like I said, technically speaking, the best option is to remove the frets, plane down the fretboard, then install new frets. But on a Gibson, that's sometimes a challenge because of the fret nibs. So we can plane down the fretboard and remove the fret nibs, but then you no longer have those typical Gibson fret nibs on the sides of your fretboard. Some people like that, some people don't. So that complicates the repair. You can remove the binding and then change the binding and then do finish repair. That's going to cost you more than buying a new guitar. Or in this case, I think a level crown and polish should work, but that's going to result in varying fret heights, okay? Which for an electric guitar, because you bend strings when you play, might be an issue. But for an acoustic, not really, not for most players. So I think that's a good option for this guitar. That's something I'm going to discuss with this customer, and I might even do a follow-up video on this guitar so that you can see what was done to it. And if you want to see what was done to it, why don't you click the subscribe button? That way you'll be notified, etc., etc. You can also support this work by clicking some links below. There's a link to buy me a coffee. Oh, speaking of, right? The other day, this customer, Michael P, he goes by Michael P online, bought me 5 coffees. Thank you, Michael. I know you're watching. I really appreciate it. Okay, this keeps me up at night editing the videos for you. And right now, it's early morning, and I'm editing, so I need a coffee. All right, friends, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, and I'll show you some more examples of other guitars that need more work than setups. All right, see you soon.